welcome back to the channel. So for today we're going to have a sort of a standard deck tech for the upcoming sets. The set of the Streets of New Capenna. So if we're looking that the face-to-face gameplay and events will be coming back due to the decline of this pandemic, and so we are just looking for the standard format to be again relevant as one of the formats that will be played in these events. And with today's deck tech will be based upon sort of a built around, or not really built around to a card which we call the what it was also previewed the other day. They called the Devilish Valet. So Devilish Valet is a 3 to cast 1/3 Devil Warrior creature. It's a red creature with trample and haste. And its alliance ability is that whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, double Devilish Valet's power till the turn. So basically it's just a 3-drop with a 1/3. The mana cost may be reasonable as what I have noted here. It has a good toughness because I cannot easily killed with just other 2/2s or maybe from 2 damage. Though some of the new spot removals have 3 damage on it, or maybe just going through with the non-conditional spot removals, but we'll just have it on another discussion. But going back to the build of this deck, we're going to look at how we can really work around or maximize this. Double the power until you turn whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control. So given that it has already haste and trample, haste makes it having it a playset in the deck is not a issue, because you can just basically curve out from turn 3 to turn 4 into this and just add your other creature. So basically you can just trigger its alliance ability twice, making it deal much more damage on the turn. And we're looking at red-green as a deck's color shell for this standard deck tech. Maybe if you want to go with the warrior tribal, I think there is still a warrior anthem creature in Zendikar Rising. I think that was if you're going to go with red-white base, then maybe you can add it in the lineup. But for today, we're still going to have a red-green aggro deck with Devilish Valet as one of the 3 drops in the list. So going next, we'll have the cards that going to do the multiple triggers for the Valet's alliance ability. So automatically we have Iska's Chariot. It is a 4-drop, but it comes to play with creating ability of 2 green cat creature token. So that is basically twice the trigger of that card. Especially if you get to curve around it, you can just also have Chariot create a token copy, which is another trigger when it attacks. So given that you can curve out for turn 3 and turn 4, then Chariot on the next turn may have to get another trigger by copying a token depending on what you would follow up. So for example, if you follow up with this card, the spell that will have to trigger the Valet's alliance ability by creating 3 1/1 red evil creature tokens that when it dies, it deals 1 damage to any target, and they also gain haste until the end of turn. So basically, you're gonna have to curve out for turn 4 Chariot, and then turn 5 burn down the house with the devil tokens crewing the Chariot, or depending if it needed, you can also attack it on itself. Then that's basically one of the explosive turns that you can just deal enough damage and maybe even do an exact alpha strike on that turn if combined with the right cards. So this is just a few of the scenarios, and we also have another card that will do the trigger, and these are the 2 cards from Zendikar Rising. and these are Skid Swarm and Pylath World Sculpture. So Skid Swarm is a 2 to cast 1/1 creature that has landfall effect and ability that whenever land enters the battlefield, you'll create a copy of you will create a 1/1 green insect creature token. Then if you control 6 or more lands, you will create a copy of Shoot Swarm instead. So basically creating multiple copies of it later on. Then for each landfall you would play, landfall trigger will get you several triggers for each of the Shoot Swarm, which at the same time also power up your Devilish Valet to its alliance ability. Now we also have Pilot, the World Sculpture. It's just a 6 to cast 5/5, but it will do multiple triggers because when it enters the battlefield, you will create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each basic land you control. Then whenever you do a landfall, you get to put 4 counters, some counters on target plant you control, which basically making it a 4/5. It's also a good attacker by itself. So these two are basically the other options aside from the 2 cards I mentioned. So maybe the main strategy here is just to basically curve out your creatures from Valet into this Swarm or Pilot or any of the other chariots or any of the spells as mentioned. So we also need to have creatures for mana ramp. So the red green offers this basic lineup, the Jaspera Sentinels, wherein you can tap and untap creature control to add 1 mana of any color. So it is also a good trigger for the Valet later on if you get to do another copy of this. Then we have Magna, wherein it is a 2 to cast 2/1, but whenever you draft your control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. Then you have an option to search artifact or junk card from your library and put it in the battlefield if you sacrifice 5 treasures. So this is basically a combo here wherein you can tap Jaspera Sentinel and use Magda to produce the mana, and at the same time Magda will create a treasure token which basically gives you 2 mana in one in floating and the other is a treasure token wherein you can use it to cast your next spells or your big spells in these succeeding turns. Then we also have the option for Prosperous Innkeeper. This is the commonly used in the Timor and maybe another typical red green aggro decks in the current standard format, wherein it will just produce a particular token, and at the same time whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you still get an again 1 life trigger, wherein which is beneficial if you go with this deck, which has several creatures entering the battlefield, which can also triggers you life and maybe get you ahead of the damage race. And we also have Tangled Fluorhedron. This is, I think, included as a single copy of this. This also used for a curve for turn 2, and at the same time if you need land for mana ramp or just basically playing a land to trigger landfall, then you can just switch to its other side as a land a play land trigger. Then we have utility spells. So basically just need in a way to protect the Valet for maybe for dying, or maybe if you would go with traditional, not triggering the alliance but just making them attack and putting counters on it. So we have Ranger class first. This is another trigger option by creating a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Then if you get it to level 2, whenever you attack, you may put a percent counter on that creature. So the Valet will also get a counter on it if you want it to be the target. And then the late game, you may look at the top card of your library. This is the ability for casting creature spells from the top of your library. Then we have Tamis Keeping, basically the utility card to protect Valet or any other threats that we have in maybe attacking for spot removals or destroy effects. So target permanent you control becomes hexproof and indestructible, and also gets you 2 life in the process of as you resolve the spell. Then I have included also a single copy of Castle's Fury. This is a 3-2 cast instant. Then you sacrifice a creature, deals damage equal to its power to any target. So as you trigger the Valet for multiple instance, you can basically use Castle's Fury to sacrifice it to deal damage equal to its power to the player's dome, or maybe to their creatures if needed. But this is just basically an additional insta kill for the opponent if you get to have a curve to the Valet's multiple triggers, and then use it to deal the damage, equal amount of damage to equal to its power. So at the same time, it's also a land in which you would need landfall triggers, and you just basically play it as like any other lands in your library. So other traditional gameplay creatures, which we call it as the old traditional, if ever your main combo piece wouldn't work, you can basically just attack with most of these creatures. So Goldspan is a given for most red green aggro. You can basically produce tokens and you just add. And it's also flying haste. It mostly evades most of the creatures in the meta game. And also we have Decklist Stormseeker, which is a 3-drop for 2/3. You can basically get your Isekai Chariot to haste, and in its own you can basically attack for 3 on its turn, on the third turn. And if you get to flip this is going to produce more haste effects and more additional power. Instead of just +1/+0, you get to get it for +2/+0. So if you remember the main strategy for Valet, you can just basically slow pace the damage race, basically by just attacking with the dragons and Stormseekers. And if the late game plan of just swinging for damage, you can just basically rely on these cards. So we can just check on the full deck list. This is just initial deck list, which mostly included 4 copies of the cards. So 4 copies of Devilish Valet, Despair Sentinel for the mana ramp creature. We have 3 Magda, Brazen Outlaw. We have 2 Reckless Stormseeker, 3 copies of Skewed Swarm, 2 copies of Goldspan. We also have Pilot, the 2 copies, and Prosperous Innkeeper for the mana ramp, 2 copies, and the single Tangled Floor Hedron. Now for the spells, we have 4 Burn Down the House. In this case, we can use it to just sweep up the opponent if needed. We also have Isekai Chariot, 4 copies, 1 Castle's Fury, the Ranger class, and Shattered Skull Smashing, also an additional utility, which you can also play a land and 2 Tamiyo Safekeeping. Now for the lands, basically we have 22 in total, since these are basically lands, so 23, 24, I mean this is 22, this is 24, 25, 26. So basically just 26 lands total, but at the same time we can also just play out Rockfall Vale for Cragtown Pathway and Forest and Mountain. So overall, this is just a basic deck list for Devilish Valet aggro. We can call it as a red-green Valet tokens, or Valet combo if you will. And for any deck tech questions, comments, you can just put it out in this video description or comments below. And if you ever wanted to try this on MTG Arena or MTG Online, or maybe just do some proxy playtests in your local game stores, then do so and let me know if you want to have improvements, or maybe you can change the color of this and not only rely on red green in the deck build. So that's about it for this standard deck tech for Streets of New Capenna. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, just please like, subscribe, and put out your inputs on this video and all the upcoming videos for Streets of New Capenna standard.